Thank you so much, Jason. I am absolutely thrilled to be back on your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being our guest, and just keep pushing forward, being everything leadership. I've looked at a lot of your stuff, and you definitely are on point with your leadership message. And today's topic is actually leadership possibilities. And so, can you tell us a little more, other than what I've said about you already? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Um, I think I led my very first team on stage at the age of 6, and really, I've been leading ever since. My whole life has really been about leadership in one form or another, and for the last uh, a few years, let's just say few years, I've been working with organisations to really help them to grow and develop even more leaders who can really lead that change and transformation space, which, let's face it, after the last couple of years is kind of everything, really equipping leaders to be able to step up and lead in a way that is sustainable and relevant, and all about not what's been, but about creating a future, and a future that we want to be part of. And so I speak and train and coach and author and do all of those things to spread the ideas that are simple and practical and easy to implement, that allow people, leaders at all levels, to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's excellent. And how long you say you've been doing? You said since you left it at 6 years of age. How long have you been into the leadership development field?
Oh, I mean, that's giving a lot away. Shall I say like 40 or 50 years?
Wow, wow, wow. Really not trying to age you or anything like that. So, but 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 again though, that's some powerful stuff. Like so, and the reason why I asked that question is how has leadership changed over the last few years with the impacts of the pandemic and other, which has really been a transition, right? And from one norm to the next norm. So how has
Mm.
leadership changed over the last few years?
Yeah, this is something that I've been talking about actually a lot, Jason. I think, for me, if I was to go, what are the core attributes of leadership and what's important? Um, I don't actually believe that has changed significantly. What I think has changed, there are two things that I believe has changed. One is the expectations that people have of their leaders have really changed markedly in the last couple of years. The expectation that I get treated as a human, because we're all going through these very human experiences, and our life and our work has become much more integrated than ever before, as we've, had to introduce flexible working and hybrid working, and we've had lockdowns and all of those kind of complex situations that have arisen and have required us to change how we think and do our life and our work. And so I think the expectation that people have of their leaders is really different. And it's not just about being more human, it's being about how to be more visible. It's about the whole connection and trust piece and how we communicate differently, and so many things. And so employee experience and their expectation of their leaders has changed tremendously. And I think that more leaders, they've always been amazing leaders, right? There's been that group of people that you look to and you go, wow, you're just stepping in and you're just being a leader. But what I feel now is that all of those attributes that should have been there and present in all leadership, more leaders are now recognizing that actually they need to up their game, that leadership isn't just sitting in their role in their organization, holding a place on the organization chart. It is, I need to now start to embody more of these attributes that have really always been there, but we're now talking about them more, and we're expecting that our leaders actually show up in a much fuller capacity as their leaders. So it's not just about critical decision making and setting the strategy and setting the vision. It's actually embodying that and being human and connecting with people, and recognizing that we cannot just burn our people out and then let them go and get the next one, and all of those sorts of things. So I think leadership itself, or true leadership, hasn't changed, but I think the recognition of it and the expectation of it have risen dramatically in the last couple of years.
Yeah. So with all of that being said, then with these, with all of that happening, how do leaders stay relevant?
Lots to do, I think. Uh, Lots to do. When I say that, what I think some things we need to let go of and some things we need to embrace. And so how do you stay relevant? Well, I think firstly, just even being conscious that you need to be thinking about your leadership.
Mm,
How are you leading? What else do you need to be doing? What should you be letting go of? How do you look after yourself? I think leadership self-care has also become one of those things that's become more talked about than perhaps it has been historically. It's so important because if leaders are going to sustain their leadership, be relevant, be able to support their people and their organisations and their industries and communities and so on, then they have to look after themselves so they don't burn themselves out and run out of ideas and run out of energy and those sorts of things. So I think leadership relevance is about actually practicing leadership, not just assuming, oh, I've made it now, I'll just, do what I do and continue to do that without change. The world has changed, and to maintain relevance, we need to change and grow too, because we cannot keep doing things the same way we did them a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, because the world around us, the context has changed. In order for us to be relevant, we have to change and adapt as well. And so I think that's probably the key message for all leaders. You cannot stagnate, you cannot plateau. You need to always be, looking for what's next for me. How do I learn and grow? How do I become a better leader or a better equipped leader? How do I need to be thinking about how I support and lead my people? What is going on for my people, for my business, for my industry, that I should really be looking to? How do I lead that?
mm. So before we go into questions about your two latest books, how so what are, and you were speaking about well-being and wellness, and that's one of the the hot topics that's being talked about as part of the benefits package for inviting new employees into the workforce, into the labor force after the pandemic has taken place. So what are some of the other trends that you've noticed that have taken place in leadership?
Mm, let me think. Okay, so I think that there's so many. We know that we have an issue with talent,
Mm,
finding talent, keeping talent. I mean, that's always been, a challenge, but it's really been exacerbated over the last couple of years. So employee experience, I think, has to be much higher on the agenda now. We really need to look at, as leaders, what are our employees, what are those people really wanting from their experience of work as part of their life? Because we know that everyone, almost everyone anyway, has reevaluated how does work fit into their lives. And so the experience they have of that is going to be fundamental to whether they want to come and be part of your organization, part of your team, work for you as a leader or not. So that's a big one I think that leaders need to be conscious of. I think the connection piece, are you a leader that I can know, like, and trust? Do I actually want to work with you? Is that the choice I make? And so the focus that leaders have on how do they connect with their people, how do they be visible as leaders, and by that what I mean is, what's the evidence of them leading? How do I, as a person in your team, know that you are being my leader when perhaps we work in different locations? I may not communicate directly with you very often, and that sort of thing. So how do I be a visible leader? How do I be a human leader? How do I make sure that we've got good connection? And then another really key one, which unfortunately during the pandemic for a number of organisations they didn't pay a lot of attention to, is we must keep building the capability of our people. Because
mm,
if we don't, A, they're not capable, which is not a great thing. And B, we're not kind of loving them enough. We're not investing in them enough. And so when they get a choice about whether I stay with you as a leader or whether I go to another opportunity, if I haven't felt like you want to invest in me and build my capability, I'm less likely to stay. You haven't shown me a lot of loyalty in some ways in terms of investing in me. So why